Lauren Daly here, and today we have James who's going to tell us his story. I'm excited to welcome him. He's got some unique things about his story that I can't wait for him to share. So, yeah, I'll hand it over to him. James, how about you start by telling us about your high school experience? What was that like for you? Were you a good student?
Yeah, absolutely. I was a completely horrible student. I really wasn't a student. I tried everything that I absolutely could to get out of any amount of work that I had to. For me, it was important to feel like I was smart, but I really struggled with the identity of being a student, and I really struggled with the identity of, or the feeling of needing to sacrifice my time. The more that I could do less, the more freedom I felt. And that honestly ended up going very poorly for me to not have a sense of responsibility. My grandfather was a dean of a college, and all of the like people in my life are well educated and have master's degrees. And it was just kind of like this expectation of education. And I really just never fit and struggled with ADHD and my ability to sit in one place for long enough to do any amount of schoolwork. So it really felt like a very oppressive environment for me, and I kind of did everything that I could to fight back against it, for better or for worse, for myself.
Wow. Okay. So, really not a fan of school in the younger years. What happened after you graduated high school?
Yeah, I didn't graduate high school. I
Oh.
I dropped out my senior year. I really was struggling with mental health. I skipped schools a bunch, dealing with like my adverse feelings to school. I got suspended from a Catholic school in middle school, and then from there, my parents felt it was a good idea to put me in like a kind of little hippy dippy private school, which is where I went. And that place was amazing. There was nothing to really like rebel against, and it let me cater to my own interests, which was fantastic. But the last year we had this end of semester project, which on the surface, and it is a very cool opportunity. You go out for the semester and you study whatever you want to build. If you want to go build a kayak, you go learn, you find a mentor, you build a kayak, and then you come and you present to everyone on what that means. And you can do it across the board on whatever you would like. And I totally collapsed because it was the first time in my life that somebody really asked me to do something to stand on my own 2 feet, and I just didn't have the capability. I really felt misidentified with myself. And while I had the excuse in my head that I was an intelligent person and that I could do things, really my capability level was at an all-time low, and I was suffering from a lot of disassociation and depression and a lot of anxiety, and it slowly ate away at me and caused me my last semester of high school to drop out. I just couldn't complete, and I was basically in a catatonic state for quite a long time.
Wow, that is an extreme story. Okay, so very bad associations with school. How did you come out of that place? Yeah, that's a dark place you were in.
Yeah, for me at first it was reconnecting with my body, of getting into jujitsu and yoga really helped. I felt totally identified with my mind, but being able to reconnect with my senses and my sense of self really helped me to understand how my physiology is connected to my feeling, and led me to explore tools around mental health and therapy. And after I dug my way out of that hole, I really had to like work backwards in my own mind to figure out like what mechanisms were at play to help me fix myself. Yeah, so it was just a lot of digging through baggage and stuff like that.
So tell us about when you decided to go back to college. What was that mental process like? Because school was kind of had all these bad associations for you.
For me it was recover a little bit, like be able to leave the house. Like it was totally
Hmm.
agoraphobic pretty much. And I went to a small community college, and I would do maybe like two classes, hit midterms, I would have panic attacks, and I would like procrastinate and like drink and like turn to drugs. And it was horrible, and I would disassociate more. Like I would barely make my way through that. And then finals would come, and then I would have more panic attacks, or I would like fail withdrawal classes. And I would just like struggle my way through any amount of school. And it was still this identity of like, I felt I needed to prove that I was intelligent, but in part I wasn't built, and the system wasn't built for me to be able to sit in a classroom, to be able to absorb material that I didn't think was interesting or relevant. I felt like a need to rebel still against nothing, even though I had decided to be there. It was like that for maybe like 4 years of just like, oh, I get like maybe one class, fail withdrawal, four more, like just try to pick something up. I ended up getting like a state transfer associate's degree. I went from that small school to IU Bloomington. And it was at the time that I felt like I had really worked on myself a lot to be able to have interpersonal relationships and just be able to breathe. And I felt really good about going back to school. But then when I went to IU, it was such a large, monotonous classroom environment that I felt totally stifled and shut down. And I couldn't quite rationalize in my own head, like, why am I sitting here in this room when life is happening outside of here? I'm like waiting to live my life for like some promised time that may or may not come. And I'm bleeding money while doing it. And like, I don't feel good about it. And I drop out again. And so like this identity of being a dropout has kind of chased me throughout my life, you know, and my academic career. There are things I've loved that I've sticked with, but with school, at some point I've always quit.
Wow. I am so impressed. I'm even more so impressed now. I didn't know quite this level of detail, when you and I were working together. So I'm even more impressed now that you found your way to the end of this. So what happened? So you're having panic attacks. You're in the residential community college. Did you end up stopping there and then took a break, or what happened after that?
Yeah, I took a break. I was teaching yoga, and I still teach yoga and breath work, these modalities that have really helped me. I started working at a residential facility for runaway and homeless youth. And that really helped me connect to my hurt kid self and really let me kind of be a good older brother role model type of figure. The population is 10 to 17. And I realized that I loved working with these kids and that I was able to give so many insights that I wish that I had, that somebody had just said like, hey, your body is connected to your mind. Like, you are not this letter grade. You are not what your parents have done to you. You have value inherently, and you get to decide your path. And so that really not only helped me in my healing journey, but helped me in like getting a mission statement. I've traveled around a lot, but I kind of keep coming back to that core of social work and impact, which has been great for me. I kind of reached like a really big burnout with social work, just kind of seeing the things that you see and the stories that happen. It's liable to break your heart. And I just needed time away. And so I was just looking for any possibility or anything. And I was like, I know I can't go to IU. I know I can't spend a bunch of money. I've kind of burned that like good grace. I know that I need it to work for me. And I'm disillusioned about college as a means to get my education. And so I need something. And then I found you guys.
Nice. I like it. I got goosebumps. That's awesome. So you find us, you hear us talking about Sophia and study, and where exactly do you see yourself in that equation? Like, what moment happens where you're like, this could be the thing that helps me finish?
At first I was like, this isn't real. I was like, this is a scam. I sent it to everyone. They're like, this is a scam. And I was like, $500, if I get scammed $500, all right, like I'll take it. Like compared to where I'm at, I just won't go to school. I'm not heartbroken if that doesn't happen. But this seems ingrained in me that education through college is the way to gain status. Like it's just a simple way to gain status. At the end of it, you have a piece of paper that allows you to do things. And throughout my career of teaching yoga and breath work, there has been a lack of a piece of paper that's gotten in my way. So it just felt like, okay, if this is a scam, if I'm out $500, this is still worth it. But like there has to be something. That's kind of what led me to take the first call.
Okay, so we meet and we talk about schools and majors. And what do you remember? What jumps out at you maybe about that first session?
The first thing was I got on the Discord even before our calls, and I just like asked like, hey, I know I want to be a therapist from this background. Like I feel drawn to do this stuff. Should I maybe do like healthcare administration? Should I do X, Y, and Z? Maybe I should be more worried about like the money or like what I can make. And there were so many helpful people on the Discord that were like, what you want to do is therapy, do psychology, figure the rest out. And I think on our calls, you mirrored that of like, here's your path, here's your outcome. The like options of schools and what was available I was so impressed because I was like, I would have never known or found about like any of these programs to be able to make any kind of informed decision. It just would have been hidden from me, especially with like the availability and the roadmap to just know like, oh, I have these classes that I need to take. And then, wow, I get to achieve my goal. This is how much it costs. Is this doable? Everything was just kind of like brought to daylight. It felt so easy to navigate.
Nice. Well, good. I'm glad that it was helpful for you to see all the information arranged in that way. I remember us talking a lot about, the ADHD thing, and I think
Yeah.
what finally landed us on UMPI was your ability to scale and control how quickly or how slowly you wanted to move, and putting more of that back in your power. Because, like you were saying earlier, when you were younger and you were kind of stuck in this school system, you didn't fit in that box, and nobody was really looking at you as an individual, saying what would work best for you or what speed do you want to go at. And now there's this way where you can suddenly do it at your own pace. What was it like learning about that?
Liberating, because I think this like through line of rebelling against things that I don't actually want to rebel against. There's nothing to rebel against because you're due at the end of an 8-week course. It's like one of the first times that I'm not procrastinating because there's nothing to procrastinate with. It's
Nice.
not like it's due at the end of the week and I have stuff that's in my way. I get to be like, oh, I'm going to sit at my computer for 2-3 hours and just kind of do this until I'm done. And then I'm going to get up and I'm going to do something else, or 15 minutes. It works so much better to be able to kind of answer these open-ended questions. And I think thinking about myself, at least as an introspective person, it really helps to have the format of papers and PowerPoints because it lets me write out my own thought process. It really is very easy and it fits my life very well. And it keeps me from doing other things that would otherwise be destructive in my life.
So you pick your school and major, and then you start your hacking. How did the classes that you hacked compare to the classes you had done before?
It's like not even comparable. It like really is like a cheat code. College Hacked is a perfect name because it just feels like, my experience with school before was like confusion of like, is this thing, there's like a hidden fear, like a hidden course. It's like the courses that you have taken that transfer in are in green. The courses you need to take are not. And then you talk to your advisor and you say, I need these courses and this is how I'm going to do them. And then you complete them, and you don't have to, at least the program that I did, there was no like sitting in lecture and like forcing myself to be somewhere. There was no irrelevant information or like monologuing. Like I get along well with people, but there was no like professor isms, if that makes sense, or like authority figure looking down on you and saying like, now you must impress me. I never felt that. So it really gave me so much space to be able to be motivated because I felt good,
Yes. Okay, great. So that kind of carried you, the hacking part of it carried you into the school, and then you had a great experience, it sounds like, with your professors and dealing with people there. What about what's next for you? I know we talked about master's degrees a little bit. What are you thinking now that you have graduated UMPI?
So I just before this call got off the phone with 2 different universities, Liberty and then University of Southwest Indiana. Right now I'm exploring different options to become a therapist. I think that's kind of been the overarching goal. And it's really cool to not only be like, wow, I completed my bachelor's and it was easy, but like, oh, I'm getting a higher education degree. Like I'm not behind anymore. Like not only am I not behind anymore, and I don't believe in that mentality to begin with, that you're behind in life because you don't have a degree, but I'm not feeling that way about myself. And in fact, I'm moving at what feels like an accelerated rate from my life and career, which has otherwise been on the back seat. Yeah. So looking at either LPC or MSW programs, the conversation with Liberty that I just had was actually really amazing. So it's kind of just about determining what the next best step is to meet that goal.
Nice. I really like that. So you are looking at master's programs. You just finished your undergrad. You have come from this background where no one could ever look at you and say, well, you were able to do it, but I couldn't do it. I was sitting here trying to think if I've ever heard a story that was more intense in terms of somebody just having a bad association with school and having bad experiences all the way through over and over again, no matter how hard they were trying. The fact that you persisted after having panic attacks in your community college is incredible. It says a lot about your personality, your spirit, what you're willing to do to accomplish your goals. But yeah, so I mean, just the fact that you went through all that and still came out and finished a bachelor's degree, I feel like nobody else in the world has the right to be like, well, I'm going through too much, or it's too hard for me, because you've set this example that, what, if you want to do it, it's definitely possible.
Yeah, I think especially with the ease of access that I didn't think was possible, and to understand like what is your story, like why are you invested in this? For me, it was like, yeah, I'm having these panic attacks, but I keep enrolling. Like there is some part of me that either because my parents told me it was important or because I feel something's missing, that I keep doing this to myself. And so I think getting really curious about, why do you think that it's not possible for you? And why do you think about it in the first place? Like, is it something that is keeping you up at night? Because if it is so accomplishable. If you are stuck in a place, I can't do this. If you're thinking about, this isn't for me, I think it is so low risk to try it. And then if you prove yourself wrong that you are the individual that can do this thing, you have proven the worst parts of yourself wrong, and it can only get better from there.
I truly have nothing better to say than that. I feel like that was the perfect, because my next question was going to be, what advice would you have, or what would you say to someone who's in that place that you were in before you got started with this? Maybe when you just found us, but you were thinking, oh, this is for other people, but maybe for me, it's not possible or something. But I feel like those words are exactly what that person would need to hear. And the fact that they are capable, especially if it's something you keep coming back to. I think that's such a beautiful point that you've made, that if the passion is there and it's something that continuously comes back to your mind, then it's going to be worth pursuing, because you clearly place value on that for whatever reason that might be. It's clearly something that's ingrained in you as valuable. So it's worth pursuing. I love it. Well, any other last words or things that maybe you want to share that we haven't talked about yet?
Yeah. If you're thinking about it and you're curious, you don't lose anything by taking the next step. And you don't lose anything by like getting on the Discord and asking questions and utilizing community resources that are available through this community and others. I'm learning more and more how unique of a time this is to empower ourselves through accessibility, through technology, through community and education. And while the deck has been very much so stacked against us, as colleges are businesses and we are consumers and the product, that this is a real powerful tool to educate yourself on what is possible. And even if you don't see yourself pursuing a degree or higher education, you really owe it to yourself to at least give it a shot and to explore how your life could change, and to really challenge the identity that it might not be for you if it's something that you're interested in.
Well said. James, thank you so much for sharing your story with us. I think I can speak on behalf of everybody watching when I say we all really appreciate the work that you're doing with these kids, and the fact that you looked at your own life and said, I want to be more, I want to do more, and did the hard work to actually do that. There's a huge space between recognizing that you want to be more and taking the steps and doing the work to actually get there. So amazing to see your journey along the way. And thanks so much for letting us be a small part of it.
Thanks. I appreciate it a lot.